All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kenny B here from Cities and Suburbs. Welcome aboard. 1st of November, and it is a beautiful, balmy, what is it? Almost 65 degrees out today for
It's a
November 1st.
gorgeous night out.
It is a gorgeous night out. On the line with us is the awesome Peter K. Interview with an with the here tonight on Cities and Suburbs. So welcome aboard, and another installment of yours truly, Peter Truly, and we're going to talk about a few things today. And actually, Peter's on his car phone, which he generally is always. I kind of envy the guy because he gets to travel a lot and work less, and I want to try to figure out that formula.
Get into housing, Ken.
Get
Get into
oh,
housing.
is that what it is? Okay, get into housing. Okay.
Or save your vacation time, one or the other.
Well, I've saved my vacation time because that's all I've taken was sick time this year because of stupid COVID. You know, you know how that goes, right?
Yes, the cold of unknown origin.
Yeah. Well,
We don't
yeah,
again. We don't want to get demonetized too soon.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, heaven forbid. Anyway, so today, I mean, well, let's take it back a bit. Where are you driving back from?
Shrewsbury High.
Shrewsbury High. So what was going on, Mr. Umpire at Shrewsbury High?
It's actually it's a very nice program. It's called Basketball Unified. They take kids with special needs, whether it be
Nice.
physical or developmental, and they play a basketball game with kind of a mix of a couple kids from the varsity teams, and the local high schools have been doing that for a few years. It's actually very rewarding to see. It's good to see everybody playing the game.
That's really cool, man. That's nice. Because I see you all the time, in other venues, in umpiring. But that's nice, and kind of well, you give back a lot, but I mean, it's something special for you outside of the regular, diamond or sweaty and sweaty basketball courts.
It's nice not to get yelled at for a night. It's nice. Everybody's a friend.
Yeah, that's nice.
Everybody's on the same team. We're on the team of the kids. That'll change, in December when when the high school season starts. But right now, we're all friends and we're all happy.
That's cool. That's nice, man. All right, so and you're driving back home to northern Worcester County, or
No, I'm in Middlesex County.
oh yeah, okay, right.
I have a different congressman, a different sheriff, a different. Everything's different up there. It's the Northern Kingdom, baby.
Wow. So yeah, you're out of the big city of Worcester. You don't live
Yeah,
in. You're out of here.
I got out. I got out, and I think that's a lot of what we'll talk about tonight is the big reason why I left the city.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's back it up a little bit. What do you think about? So tonight we got. I'm sporting my Phillies shirt, and what was your call on the World Series? We have, which is interesting because Thursday night football is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles um, versus the Houston Texans. So, and then we have Houston playing the Philadelphia Phillies in the World Series. So it's kind of like an odd mix. I mean, some things, things are coming together. The gods are making it happen. So, but what's your prediction for the World Series?
I always have it. When my team's not doing, when my team doesn't win, of course I'm a Blue Jays fan. I always say embrace the chaos, and I think this postseason as a whole, especially in the National League, it was absolute chaos. I mean, the Philadelphia Phillies was a team that went on, I believe, two 12-game losing streaks during the regular season. They
Mm-hmm.
almost missed the playoffs, actually, because they just couldn't win a game in the last month of the year. But it's a team that absolutely, I think everybody left for dead between them and Tampa Bay. I think they were the two least likely teams to make the World Series, and the
Yeah.
fact that they made it, I'm all on board. I do like Dusty Baker, but I still always have that sour taste from the whole trash can gate, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it.
I know. I agree.
I agree.
People are saying that they want the Astros to win so Dusty can get a ring, and I'm like, you know what? Well, Dusty. The other side of that is, man, he did not have to take the job.
No, but Dusty was definitely one of those hires that when your team is the most vile as a whole, the seems all around and a good manager, and so he's a hard guy to cheer against. But I still just something about the Astros. I still can't. I still can't bring myself to cheer for them. So I like you. I'm on the Phillies bandwagon.
Well, I've been watching the Phillies for many years. I had friends back in the early '80s that went to Penn State, and I was saying the other day, I used to watch the Lions all the time until that whole, Jerry Sandusky thing came, and then I came back to the watching Penn State. But so I've always been a Phillies fan because I think Boston and Philly are very close. And, I mean, Philadelphia Phillies had their back in the 1880s where, actually that they weren't the Worcesters, but Worcester had a baseball team from 1880 to 1882. And they were a very lousy team other than Lee Richmond pitching the first perfect game. That's recorded in the Hall of Fame, but they didn't move to Philly. Their spot in the National League moved to Philly, but so the Worcesters became the Philadelphia Phillies. But I've always kind of had a spot with them, and it's interesting. The Phillies, regardless of how winning they are since 2008 when they beat Tampa Bay, and people forget in 2009 they went back to the World Series, right? And they were beaten by the other boys in stripes by the Yankees. So they made it, back to back. But they're still the most losingest baseball franchise, and that I find funny. But as far as Dusty Baker, and yeah, I get all that, but he also took the job knowing that, well, obviously that the team had talent and they had a chance to win it all, and he had a chance to finally. Maybe he's just trying to make things right. We got stuck with Alex Cora here in Boston. I'm not a Cora fan, to be honest with you.
Well, Cora comes from that whole scandal.
I know that.
From what a lot of people said, he was almost the brains behind the whole operation.
Yeah, and that doesn't make him. I mean, they finished last with a great coach, and I mean, he sounded like after every game they lost this year at the press conference, our guys battled really good. Oh, he was working his curveball good. You friggin' lost. It's all he did was backpedal, and it sounded like, I don't know. I just question how many games does a manager actually win for a team? The players have to show up, right?
Yeah, I don't know. And I think honestly, the whole role of a baseball manager has changed. I mean, it's all about this analytics. And I know whenever I'm on with you, I always have to bemoan and complain and bitch about analytics ruining the game. But I mean, for a while, when you looked at the AL East, you had Tampa Bay, which fully embraces it. Boston embraces it.
Yep.
New York embraces it now. And for a while, you had Toronto, who had John Gibbons, who was kind of one of those old throwbacks.
Yeah, he was.
He scratches his crotch and fights for his team. And I think I don't know how much a manager wins for you. And I think managers have become sacrificial lambs where things start going sideways. I think they're very easy to jettison and get an automatic kind of bounce if you have a good guy you bring in as an interim basis. But the manager's a little overrated in baseball, but it still plays a role. I mean, Dave Roberts probably lost that World Series for the Dodgers when they played the Red Sox. I mean, how many head scratching moves did he make or didn't make in that World Series? That it's
exactly, and he was the guy that everybody didn't scratch their head when he stole second base in 2004. So, yeah, I mean, and when you say that, interestingly though, remember, a lot of people don't remember or aren't just it's not cerebral anymore. Uh, but early in the year, I think it was before or after the trade deadline, the Phillies fired Joe Girardi.
Yeah, they fired him pretty. Actually, I think they fired him pretty early in the season.
I think
You know,
so because they knew that they had a couple of studs in Hopper and how do you say
well,
his name?
Schwarber's been hitting freaking bombs. Like the Schwarber bombs are going all over,
Exactly.
Eastern PA.
Yeah. And so they got rid of Giardi, and then the dude that they have now, uh, I don't, I don't.
Thompson.
Yeah. So was he the bench coach, or was he? Did they hire him?
I believe he was with the organization before, but sometimes that's all you need. You need a new manager to light a fire under the players' asses, and I think that's kind of what he did when they brought him in. He did just that. He lit that fire. They went on like I think it was like a 16, 17 game winning streak, and they're they're a very they're a very discombobulated team because there's definitely talent there. They have Harper, they have Castellanos, they have all sorts of great talent, but there's just such a hot mess that's why they're fun to watch. I mean, the Astros are a wagon. I mean that team's a good. I don't like them, but they are a good team.
They're a good team, but they're not gonna. The thing is that, and they'll admit it, they're not gonna blow people out as far as scoring runs. That's not their game. So that's where I think they're so evenly matched with the Phillies. That you're gonna have. I think this could go 7.
Well, they remind me. They honestly remind me quite a bit of the Washington Nationals when they won, or even if you want to even throw it further back, that Minnesota Twins team that won the World Series in '91. That was a team. That was a team that should have been absolutely manhandled in the series, but they pulled it together. I mean, look, all you have to you have to get to the dance. You don't get a chance to dance with a pretty girl unless you make it to the dance, and that's part of the thing. It's get to the playoffs, and then it's a whole new season. You see it all the time with hockey, and it's similar in baseball. Get to the playoffs, and then see where the cards fall.
Well, that's the interest, and that I don't know. I mean, that'll always be. If you're a baseball purist, there's, wild cards probably don't do it for you. But, I mean, the Phillies deserved, based on the current system, to be where they are, But back in the day, they would have been a third place team,
But I am actually a proponent of the expanded playoffs. I know it.
Me too. I know I am too. It has to be that way.
Right. It keeps more. I know it kills the trade deadline because that's always so exciting to see who goes where.
Yeah.
But you keep more teams in it. You keep more fan bases into the playoffs. And because don't forget, I mean, there's nothing worse than going to a game at the end of July and early August when your team's out of it. And again, growing up a Blue Jays fan, there were many times in the early to mid 2000s where the Blue Jays were a distant third place in AL East, but when you compare them to the AL Central with Detroit and Chicago and Kansas City,
better record.
They would have won the division.
Absolutely. I mean, I see that. And actually, you still see that now. I mean, if you would put, a second place team, I mean, hell, if you would put friggin' Cleveland in the American League East, which they used to be 30 years ago, they wouldn't beat the top seed in that division.
Right. And don't forget this whole Red Sox, rejuvenation, renaissance only happened because they made the wild card.
Right.
What would history look like if they never had the wild card and the Red Sox never made the playoffs as a wild card team and eventually beat the Yankees? I mean, history would look a lot different. The Red Sox may still not have won a World Series.
Yeah. Well, so let's get back to it. Who you? I mean, I think both these teams are evenly matched, but I've been watching some of the reels and the playbacks, and have been able to catch all the games, through the whole thing. But which way do you dare to lean one way or the other?
My heart says Philadelphia, but if my wallet, if I had to put a significant amount of money or bet the mortgage or the farm, I think Houston's probably your safer bet. But again, Philadelphia. If Philadelphia wins, it gives credence to the whole wild card, and that any team, if they get to the playoffs, magic can happen.
Yeah.
And Philly is basically the poster child for, hey, make the playoffs and good stuff could happen to
Yep.
you.
Start 0-0, and it's forget the 162 and move on.
Right.
And you know what? I'm thinking that I think the Phillies are going to pull us off. I'll go on record to say that I think they can. I question their pitching and their closing, but I question why Dusty Baker left friggin' Justin is it Verlander? Why did they leave him in for 5.5 innings when he just, this is and that's totally, to me, that's tokenism. That's leaving the starter in. I'm not going out there taking him out. He'll get us out of this. Well, dude, he already gave up 5 runs.
It's true, but don't forget the almost like, he came off a massive injury that honestly most people would just say I'm done, and he really put in the work and brought himself back, and he's a big reason why.
But he still gave up 5 runs, man.
Right, but he's a big reason why they're in the position. He's a big reason why they're in the World Series now.
I know. It's like Major League, though. Don't worry, Rick. You're one of the guys that got us here. And I get all that, but I just I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm baseball. I don't manage a baseball team, and all us guys have the luxury of watching a game. But I was just wondering. Verlander was cruising through 3.5, and then he started. Just his mechanics didn't look right, and you got a long way to go in this thing. You may need him. You may need him to close. You could get into a game tonight that's 19-3 Philly, right? And you're putting in your right fielder because he's got the best arm, or the left fielder or the third baseman as a pitcher, or whatever. I'm just saying. I just thought it was, there was just nothing happening for the Astros after, they kind of blew it all on the first, 3 to 5 innings, and then they didn't score any runs, and then it went. That's what I liked about the Phillies, man. Over when it went to 10 innings, they hung in there. They did not look like they did. The Astros were swinging at anything. They looked very undisciplined at the plate, and so I don't know.
The old adage. Your momentum in baseball, especially playoff baseball, is your next day's starter. So I think that you play. That's where it's unique. I mean, if you get you see in hockey, you get a hot team and they just roll. In football, you get hot in the playoffs, you roll. In baseball, you can go out there and drop a dozen, and then the next day go out there and absolutely get stonewalled by a pitcher. So I think baseball's weird because you're kind of trying to always ride that very thin line between common sense and insanity and riding the hot hand. And I think that that time with Verlander, I think they took the shot. They were trying to ride the hot hand. Hopefully, he could stabilize it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting with the rain out too. Now that the guys get the extra day of rest, it does open the pitching possibilities.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens tonight. It's going to be entertaining anyway. I mean, not too much happening in sports. I mean, I'm not following too much of the Celtics yet, but we got the Bruins playing tonight. And
well, did you see the Celtics? The coach is now going to go to Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's going to the Nets. And that's the whole thing. That's really what. It's kind of like you're a celebrity when it really like hits all corners of the news. Like, you're a celebrity when you've been divorced twice and you're Tom Brady. You know, it's like who the f cares? You know, I mean, with a lot of these guys, I don't care about Tom Brady's love life. I don't care about whatever the former. I can't even say his name. He would have been a great coach. I have no idea what happened with that. I mean, you got a controversial quarterback with the Cleveland Browns. Coming back. With all this stuff, and you know, I'd just like to get back to the purity of the game, and like not really care about like the whole person behind what the team should be doing, like
Right. Well,
Bailey Zappi and
yeah. Well, it might be baseball might be going that way. I mean, it's next year they're gonna make you have the infielders on two infielders on each side of second base because honestly, it is a little boring when you go to a major league game and you're not watching a shortstop make a great diving play. You're watching a shortstop basically playing second base, bending down and picking up a ground ball. That 15 years ago would have been a single.
yeah,
So I do think you're going to get some purity back, and you're going to get some fun because one of the fun things about baseball is when the ball is put in play and it's rolling around.
right.
The parks are small, guys are hitting the ball out of the park, and hopefully, once we go back to a more pure version of baseball, my hope is that you will get some more action and get people more because there is a lot. There's a lot of fun when the ball is getting fielded and thrown around, and all sorts of fun things happen. It's just becomes so A plus B equals C in baseball, and we need to kind of get away from that. And I think for the first time in a long time, I think baseball is taking the right steps and kind of moving back in that direction.
No, that's cool. So you're talking about the shift,
Yes,
getting rid of the shift.
getting
So
which again, when it first did it, I was in the school of thought where I was like, bunts. But the reality is they're not going to bunt. They're not going to break the shift by bunting. And the shifts have become so advanced and so analytical now that it's not fun to watch a major league game
and
anymore.
and something that you make a good point, because that's why I don't watch basketball anymore. And I will say that, I grew up watching the Celtics and Larry and all those guys win these championships, but it's all about who can shoot a 3-pointer from friggin' half court.
Right,
It's
and the 3-pointer might be the worst thing to ever happen to basketball.
it was, because let me tell you what, back in the 80s and all those great Celtics teams, Danny Ainge, who was a shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays, by the way,
Yep.
um, uh, the 3-pointer was a special. You needed a specialist for that, and you didn't use it to, put three on the board, put three on the board, put. And the game has become. They don't grind in the paint anymore. It just, it that 3-point. It's so friggin' boring to watch, and it's like watching the shift in baseball. Oh God, they shifted way over half the baseball team, all the fans, down the first base line.
Right.
Hey, anybody want to come down? And it looks like an exhibition for the, anybody can come down and catch that ball. There's no,
Right.
it's so predictable, and
Well,
that's how the NBA
yeah.
is right now. It's so friggin' predictable,
Right, and it's not just that too, but it's also like the final sequences of the game. I mean, if you watch a game now, because they're playing percentages. If I shoot a 3-pointer, when you're up 5 points with 2 minutes left to go, you think conventional wisdom would be like drive to the lane, lay it up, get two.
Yeah.
But now
And draw a foul.
Right, huck threes.
Yeah.
Because you can shoot your way back into a game, and it's changed the game because I've so many bad 3-point shots in the last 5 minutes of a game. Because instead of just driving to the basket and getting two, they're driving to the basket and then dishing out. I mean, how many times do you see a guy give up an easy layup to kick it out to the corner for a guy who has a contested three? He's got a 6'7" behemoth waving his hands in his face, but he's going to take that fadeaway three because analytics say if he hits that, your win percentage goes up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. It's just it's interesting to watch. It's but the bottom line is too, the organization still need to draw fans and make money, right? That's the way it is.
Right.
You got to put asses in the seats. You got to, maybe not asses in the seats compared nowadays to streaming and who's watching, who's not watching. You know, and it's also about any sport like survival. It's like creating the next fan base.
Right. Well, I gotta ask you a question when you said streaming. So I have actually only watched one Thursday night game, and it was the Dolphins Bengals because I'm a Dolphins fan. So I did watch that game, but I can't. Besides the fact I think Al Michaels is a little bit behind. I love Al Michaels, but
yeah, I used to love that. But go ahead.
Right, but the game's kind of passed him by. But I can't get into Thursday night football with the stream because I like the channel surf. I like to, if the game's not exciting, I like to check out a different show, maybe watch, a college basketball game. I can move it around. I can check different things. But now if you stream on Amazon, you're basically locked in to that game, and you could get off the stream, and then you can go into, the television, the cable, but then you have to, in order to put the game back on, you've got to log back into Amazon, and
right.
I just don't. I can't get into it. So again, the only Thursday night game I watched was that Dolphins game because I was planning to watch that from start to finish anyway. But I have not watched a Thursday night game except for that one, and I don't think I will this year because I can't get. I don't know about you, but I can't get into the streaming.
No, I can't either. I that's where like Thursday night football though. They're still trying to save themselves. They were always having like the lousiest teams. What was it last week? I forget the Commanders and whatever.
The Commies.
Yeah, I mean it was kind of like and I don't know. And all the sports sometimes can be self-gratuitous where they think like everybody wants to watch us even on Thursday. Well, I'll tell you what.
Part of it, Ken, is that remember every team has to get a Thursday night game. So there are some dregs of the league, and it's like you're watching bad teams play bad teams, and it's just not like that. When I grew up, I remember Monday Night Football. They tried to put good matchups on Monday night.
Yep.
And now every team is entitled to a Monday. And there were teams that didn't play on Monday night because they just suck. And now we have to watch the Lions. The Lions play the Buccaneers suck this year, but watch the Lions play the Commanders.
Right.
Or the name redacted because every team is entitled to a Sunday night, a Thursday, and a Monday night game, and it's turned into it's just turned watered down the product.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big Sunday football guy, so I'll just, take it there. I mean, our Patriots, my Patriots are, still trying to find themselves. I mean, and most of the football teams are pretty average anyway this year. There's a couple of outliers, but, I mean, I look at that freaking guy, Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, and maybe they're cursed because last year, I mean, that whole Kansas City, Buffalo coming back, and it's just. But I don't think I think the Bills are it this year. I think they're the real deal. I'd like to see them. Maybe it'll be the Bills against the Eagles. Something that's different, right? So we'll see what happens. Hey, so to switch gears, so watch how long you leave your light bulb on starting today. 64% increase in energy costs throughout the country. So if you were paying about $170 a month last year to heat, whether it's electric or natural gas, tack another $100 plus on top of that, And today when I woke up, and right now inside my little studio here, I got every light burning just to get good, good video. But
you need solar panels. I got solar panels. It's a game changer.
Well, I don't own the property, so I can't do that. And also for solar panels, though, it does take a couple of years for that to kick in, right? I mean,
that is true.
Yep, you didn't see the return right away.
Well, fortunately, I bought the house, so I saw the returns right away.
Oh, okay.
my electric bill is the same every month, and it's definitely advantageous to always know, even if I leave the AC on all day, I know what my bill is. So that's great. But no, it's going to be tough for a lot of people this winter.
Ridiculously tough. I mean, and you get the president releasing, gas from the gasoline from the reserves, and which is supposed to be for a national emergency, and whatever he's allowing to be released, it's not doing anything at the pump. I mean, it's ridiculous out here today. I saw 369. I go to Southbridge, I see gas for 339 a gallon, and I'm like perplexed. So I'll put $10 in just to go to the one where I can save 30 cents. I'm seeing 30 to 40% difference between South County coming to Worcester, whether it's a Gulf station, whether it's a mobile station. I think it's such a load of horse shit, with and the 64% energy increase, the war in the Ukraine. That's an easy one. There's always an issue. As long as I've been almost 60 years on this planet, it's always been a reason why you're paying so much, and the other thing is there's plenty of jobs out there that are paying more than they would have 3 years ago because of stupid COVID. But even those prices and sign-on bonuses are not going to be able to keep up this winter. And so what's going to happen is you're paying more for your energy. Well, your supermarket's going to be paying more for energy, right? All the businesses that you do business with and buy products from, when your energy costs go up, their energy costs go up, right? And they're going to pass that right on to you, bro. So we're going to be paying more and more and more. And I don't know what the flip started all this. I can't blame it all on COVID, the economy. I mean, I just can't. And I don't. The war in the Ukraine. When people tell me that, well, don't complain because people are going to be freezing in the Ukraine this winter. You know what? I love the people in the Ukraine. I love the people in Russia. I don't know them, but I'm taking care of my home here. And what time it is in the Ukraine, I care about what time it is here, and I don't want to have to pay more and just feel good because, oh, look at all those poor people in the Ukraine. First of all, for me, we're better aligned with what's going on in Ukraine. There's hundreds of years of history between Russia and that region. And we just knee jerk over here and say, oh, those Russians and Putin is beating up all those people. And, most people don't even know the history of the Ukraine, their involvement with Germany in World War II, the bad blood that's just, there. So that being said, I can't just wave a white flag and say, yeah, no, I'm totally okay with freezing my ass off and paying more because, those poor people in the Ukraine. Well, what about the poor people in Palestine and all the other 300 wars that are going on right now around, Saudi Arabia and Yemen, I mean, you have to pay attention to your own backyard, man, as far as I'm concerned.
You do, and Russian history is actually extremely fascinating. It's you go from Russia for a long time was basically a bunch of smaller principalities that basically got brought all on together under Peter the Great, and before you look at what was there before, and when Ivan the Terrible was basically running amok all through that area, and if anybody's interested, there's some really good reads on Russian history. Mm-hmm. But I think what we really need to look at is our spending and where we're spending our money. And, I think that sometimes we overlook, for instance, our military budget is so high. We as a country invest so much money in military technology.
Number one in the world.
Right. That we will never use. And that's the part that always kind of drives me nuts. Is we're investing, and then we end up selling it off to departments, and we sell it off to other friendly countries, and those friendly countries sell it to unfriendly countries, or those friendly countries become unfriendly countries. And it's like we spend so much money on that, when honestly, if we just cut a little bit of funding back from that, we could find a way to put money back into the pockets of the consumers and say, look, we can give you, during times like this, we can give the people direct payments to help get them through their electricity costs.
Right.
Because it's affecting everybody.
So did you get any did you today we were supposed to get this drop from the state with all this overtax money? Did you see anything in your account?
I haven't looked yet, but now I am going to look. I'm interested. What'd you get?
I didn't. I asked my wife. She said nothing. I'm like, of course, because we rent the condo, and the way I figure it, with what my household makes, we're the ones paying all the taxes because I don't have anything to write off. And but I just thought that was obscure. All of a sudden we're supposed to get a drop of money in our account, or a tax refund, because
that's just because the state's really good at spending your money, and they never have a surplus in the budget because they're good at spending your money out.
Oh yeah, I mean, if there's a surplus, send it my way, please. But my wife's like, well, it could come tomorrow. I'm like, well, I'm not waiting for anything. That's the problem. I just expect to pay everything, and I try to keep my money where it is, if you will. But did you see anything in your account? Are you looking now?
Not yet. I'm driving, and I don't want to text and drive because I don't want to make a donation to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts via the Massachusetts State Police Department.
Good idea. Hey, so let's do this. Let's close out while you're driving. Let's close out. So where are you at with the ballot questions? Because the one thing about the November 8th elections, if you will, I can't wait till they're over just so I don't have to see these gosh dang commercials anymore. Okay? Every friggin' morning.
I love the New Hampshire commercials. I love when I get New Hampshire commercials.
Oh, the Saggy Maggie Hazen?
Yeah, versus the other crazy guy. It's only, because they don't have any stations up in New Hampshire, so they all advertise on ours.
Exactly.
But Massachusetts, the Massachusetts elections are all pretty boring. I don't really see anything. The only interesting kind of one is the auditor's race, because you have a kind of a liberal Republican versus a conservative Democrat. So that's kind of an interesting race. But other than that, they're all pretty kind of cut and dry. But the ballot questions, I think ballot questions tend to get muddy. And part of it, I think, is political because, if you're against it, you want to try to put as much information as you can to confuse people. Because if people don't understand what the ballot question is, they de facto vote no more often than not.
Right.
So, I don't. You want to go? There are 4, right? We have 4 ballot questions.
I thought there were 5.
Well,
the different. Also, there's the statewide questions, but then there's the local municipal questions. And that's where Worcester came up with the Community Preservation Act of question 5 in Worcester is to a 1.5 increase tax surcharge, if you will, that's reimbursed by the state. There's 200 cities and towns throughout Massachusetts that have a Community Preservation Act.
Well, they're not reimbursed; they're matched. So that surcharge is still coming out of the people's pockets. It's just the state is matching it.
No, so they're matching it, and I get it, and but that's the question going on in Worcester. So when I go to vote here in Charlton, there may be a question of, do we want to spend the $500,000 that we got from ARPA or whatever on a new roof for the police station, or you get that, but there's those state questions about the millionaires tax, which is crap,
So I'll say this. I guess we can start with ballot question 1. I think that was sneakily maybe the most disingenuous campaign out of all of them. So again, I do not have $1 million in my pocket. However, my family farm, when my grandparents passed away, the property itself, including the house, is worth over $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
So when they passed away, again, I'm not a millionaire, but I'm going to be taxed as a millionaire.
Right.
And their farm isn't even a working farm. I mean, if you take a working dairy farm or a working whatever farm, and you tax that out, that's well over $1 million, and it's punishing people. Or even if you just sell your house, if your house is worth $500,000 and you want to sell it, between your income, your assets, and your house, you're going to be taxed as a millionaire.
Right.
And the really frustrating part is, they put out the ads and say, well, you put it into schools. And part of me, the cynical part of me is like, well, everything always goes to schools. And all I hear about is how schools are so underfunded. But nobody ever tells me the magic number that schools need to be funded at. But that's just the cynical side of me. But, part of the thing is there's a loophole that says the allocations are to be determined by the state and the House of Representatives in Massachusetts. And it's one of those things where, well, what's to stop them from, investing in something stupid? Because
exactly,
it's Massachusetts, and
right.
they're gonna screw it up. I can't even drive down Mill Street in Worcester without, it's like driving out bombed out Sarajevo sometimes.
Wow.
There's just potholes everywhere.
I know.
They can't maintain the roads.
I know. I exactly right. And that's what I said about the Community Preservation Act. I get it. I get where you're going. But you know something, Worcester, man, you've been friggin' bulldozing everything down since 1967. So
right.
Preservation, affordable housing is supposed to be all this pork crap. But getting back to your houses, the average housing price for a new house in Worcester County, which is border to border, east to west, the largest geographical county in the state, the average price is about $460,000. So the average price and I look in the real estate deals here in Charlton, and they're all about $500,000.
Right.
And first of all, let me just say, we keep building inventory in this country because no one wants an older house. Okay. There's plenty of inventory out there, but no one wants an older house.
Right, everybody wants present company excluded, because actually I was looking for an older house, right? But I bought outside of Worcester because Worcester priced me out. I did not want to put that kind of money into buying a house in Worcester, so I went up to Air, and if you plot my house in Air and somewhere in Worcester, it would be a $450,000-$500,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
It's at a point, and again, it goes back to that, where they want to allocate the money and get all the money from is it's going to drive up property value, which is going to make Worcester more unaffordable.
Right.
Because don't forget, 20% of that surcharge they're collecting has to go to not current existing open spaces, but it has to go to new open spaces. Right. So now you're buying up open spaces, which is limiting the number of houses you can build, but it's also in that area around wherever you build that open space is going to drive up the market, which is going to price people out. So I think it means well. I do think there are a lot of historic buildings in Worcester, but quite honestly, Worcester could give two shits less for a long time about the historic buildings. And I think Worcester in a lot of ways has already captured a lot of the historic buildings they want. I mean, the auditorium is a perfect example of the city of Worcester screwing that up so badly. You have the Lowell Auditorium, which still hosts regular shows. It was built the same year as the Worcester Auditorium, but the Worcester Auditorium is, 2 steps away from being demolished because the city of Worcester couldn't manage it for the better part of 2 decades.
Yeah, and they maybe that's just indicative of not being able to be creative in terms of marketing. I mean, I guess they're making like a Jake Sanders is involved with that and making that an whatever it is, live game kind of thing in the Worcester
Yeah.
Auditorium, and it's really a shame. I mean, a lot of those memorial auditoriums were built in the 30s. That Worcester is the folks that passed away and that were killed in action in World War One, and I get that, both men and women, but I mean that's a whole nother show of what I've grown up to see Worcester not do. They never grew up here until now, and now their answer is density with the housing. And I go downtown and I can't see a soul. I can't buy anything. I'm still waiting for this whole beautiful thing to happen with downtown Worcester. And but you got this beautiful building like the Worcester Auditorium, yeah, and they may knock it down someday. They may, and that would be like, wow, the things they've done with Lincoln Square just over the years, but just not knowing how to market the city and repurpose the buildings, But yeah, but nonetheless, regardless of no foot traffic on Main Street, because the neutron bomb of the Galleria was dropped many years ago.
Right.
It's not keeping people there, and they're moving out. Right, Worcester is down, I think. Was it 12% in single family home ownership over the last year?
Well, don't forget. I mean, I think, and again, I think with the owl shop is a perfect example, and I've been a loyal customer of the owl, as you know, but your viewers might know. I am an ardent pipe smoker. I love my pipe, and I have my favorite blends. I get them at the owl shop, and I have for the past 15, 16 years.
Now you have to go to New Hampshire.
Now I have to order online. But part of it is, and the owner, Zach, nice guy. He tried to make his grandfather started it, used to make pipes, but he said it best. He's like, there's no foot traffic. He was a destination. People like me would go in there. We'd stop by. I'd smoke a stogie or smoke a pipe, and then I'd talk to some people down there, and then I'd get what I needed and go. Right. There's no foot traffic down there. And I think the city of Worcester, year and year, has always overestimated people's desire. People don't want to pay for parking, and walk, a mile to go shopping at non-existent stores. There are no stores worthwhile downtown.
Right. I know. And it's, it's sad to no end, man. And, that's, just one thing. It's just all, it comes down to economics too. I mean, so right now you're looking at, if you're a business trying to open up in downtown Worcester, you now with 64% of your energy going up, and everything's so tight. I mean, if there weren't jobs available right now today, and we were at 80 people applying for one job, we'd be in a friggin' major recession. And right. I know COVID had set downtown Worcester back, but that's an excuse, because COVID wasn't around in the mid to late 90s. They just sat around and watched Main Street die, and and it's still dying right in front of them. And I was a big proponent of what was going on, but I'm really becoming skeptical right now.
Well, the city doesn't. The city is not true to its message, and I think that's a big problem the city has had. Is the city says that they want small businesses, they want to develop small business, but then the city basically bends over backwards to put an Amazon up at the old Greendale Mall. And I mean, Amazon, honestly, I don't shop at Amazon personally. I don't. I try not to. If it's a book, I sometimes make an exception, but I don't shop on Amazon. I don't like what Amazon has done to local economies. But you can't say that you want, local business, and then you bend over backwards to put an Amazon. I get the jobs. I get people need jobs. But by putting an Amazon distribution center right there and courting them, you're basically saying, we want Amazon, and Amazon means no small businesses, because small businesses and Amazon really don't coexist.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, I think places like Amazon still, though, can provide some employment opportunities. That's the irony, is that, they stop small growth, but they do provide employment opportunities for people who aren't gonna, go to school, or, they're kind of like the last of the old steel mills, if you will, and
Right, but don't forget, Ken, when the guy loses his job at the hardware store because the neighborhood hardware store closes, he goes to work at the Walmart because selling tools because his job's gone.
And they did that with Home Depot in the 90s. That's been a pattern with the big box stores and the big chains. I mean, there's been a lot of argument about what killed Main Street, and these big box stores come in, and it really comes down to, I think, paying attention to how people want to shop. And like you said, whether it's paying for parking or not, it's like, where is it easier to go? People work hard right now. They're driving all the time, and people, you see them on the roads, they're pissed off. They just want to get where they're going, and if they don't have to go to some crowded urban center to get what they need, they're not going to. They'll go to a place that used to be a drive-in or a farm, and there's a Walmart there now, and they can pull in and they can pull out, and not get too interpersonal with people. I mean, a lot of these companies are just really following. I don't know if they're creating a trend in terms of the way people shop, or they're following a pattern. I mean, in the 50s.
Right, but you need creativity, though, Ken, and that's the thing, because you can say that people don't want to go shopping, but then I can take you out to Amherst, or I can take you out to Burlington, Vermont, or Portland, Maine, where there's small cities that have found a way to keep local small economies alive,
right,
without selling out their soul. And you need to be creative, and that's the one thing I think the city's not good at.
I think so too. I totally agree. I think a lot of the small towns can still grow and maintain their core values and their culture. They're not selling themselves out. Exactly. And I think really Worcester's kind of, really kind of embraced that as part of the metropolitan Boston statistical data area, if you will, and saying, hey, come on out here and live here. We're a mini Boston. We have good theaters. We have good food. Maybe that's underneath it. And you're not gonna experience organic local growth, I think, doing that. And I think we both agree on that,
Yep.
So, but yeah. So Peter, let's do this again, ladies and gentlemen. We have Peter K on the line. We totally appreciate, because I know he's in his car a lot of times when he's doing this. Any closing words, Mr. K?
All I can say is go Phillies and embrace the chaos, my friend. Embrace the chaos.
Embrace the chaos. I do like embracing the chaos. And all right, Peter Cush from Cities and Suburbs, thanks for being on again. We're going to do it pretty soon again. And we'll see what happens. Dusty Baker, does he get a ring? Does he not get a ring? Do the Phillies win their second World Series within 12 or 13 years? We'll see. But Peter K., thanks for being on the line with us tonight.
Thanks for having me, Ken. Be good, brother. Take care.
You got it. Take care, Peter K. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Okay, guys. That was Peter K. on the line, and we're going to close it out tonight here from Cities and Suburbs. Thank you, Steve Satter. And we'll talk to you soon on the other side. Thanks for joining in on Cities and Suburbs. Take care.